All right, guys, so I'm at the camper. Just got back from running around today. I mentioned this in today's daily access. I'm gonna give you a tour of the camper here shortly. It'll be on a separate video, but I'm gonna run out here and give you a quick rig tour of what it looks like to actually function out of my rig. And so for you guys that haven't really followed along too much, I am out here in Colorado right now working off my truck, doing a little bit of everything. I'm doing contract work, I'm doing side jobs, I've done stuff just welding, I've done framing, I've done all sorts of everything, I've done repairs. And so my truck is really set up to do as much as whatever I can do off a welding rig. So I built it really to do pipeline stuff, and the pipeline stuff didn't work out. So that said, I'm going to be building a new bed. There's a build series on here of me building the bed. That said, I found a lot of problems with it over the last year of using it, and so that's part of the reason why I'm building a new bed. I'm going to be building a bed to do more like general contractor type stuff, because sometimes I do need a chop saw, or sometimes I'm doing handrail fab and I need more tools than what I would normally have. And so for those of you guys that are stumbling along this video looking for pipeline beds, I built this one myself. It took me a few weeks. I had like $2,800 into it. It's pretty solid overall. It came out mostly how I wanted, but I never had the time to finish it. You know, I was working on it and then got busy, and then every time that I'm off, I'm end up doing other stuff. So I haven't had the opportunity to really finish it like I wanted, and I wanted to paint it. And so that's something I'm going to make a hard line in the sand next time when I build a bed. I'll go through here and show you pretty much my overall rig, the issues with it, and then I might clean it out and give you a brief tour of what it should look like when you're not busy, but do stuff like that. I'm now a full-time student also, on top of the fact that I run my own business, so my time is very little. So I tell people all the time, you know, yeah, I'll look at that in my 3 minutes off this week. So let's go check the rig out. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Road Access. So here we go. Pretty much packed full of stuff. Just got back off vacation, so my backpack's still in here. I stay in hotels a lot, and so I had just done my laundry before I went on vacation. So sometimes I go on jobs and I still have my freaking laundry basket in the truck. And then I got my computer out because I was just doing some invoices, and then there's my book that I do all my bids and stuff on. And then, see, things just falling out all over the place. This tote I have food and stuff in, which you can kind of see. I keep food and stuff in the truck pretty much at all times, snacks, whatever. Having food, buying food out on the road is expensive, and then like when you're a contractor, you don't get per diem. You know, you get paid an hourly rate for your hours of work, so that rate kind of reflects having to cover all your expenses. And so I've been lucky with the contractors I've been working with recently. They are covering the hotels, but I have to front them, you know, so like I have to pay for the hotel, and then when I build them, then there's like, you know, you bill at the end of the month. So let's say you go work for the entire month, you stay 5 days a week, 6 days a week, you're out $100 a night times 6, that's $600 a week. So you're at $2,400 a month in hotels, and then you have to eat. And then, you know, like your food's not covered. You can write it off, I guess, if you're out of town staying in a hotel, but you don't get to get per diem for contract welding. So that kind of is a negative effect of contracting, but you know, the rate, whereas if you were single-handing or rig welding or whatever, you know, if you were making 38 an hour plus 15 on the truck, so 48, 52 an hour basically, and then 100 a day per diem, so you call that 10 an hour, so you're at 62 an hour. Well, I charge 100 an hour, right? And so, or I bid the job based on, you know, what I want to make on it time-wise, you know, like, okay, well, this job's probably going to take me 20 hours, and I probably would charge it up a little bit more just to have all of the consumables and things included. because it's not a T&M, which is time and material, you know. And so some jobs I do that way. It's time, whatever it costs me at $100 an hour plus whatever the materials cost, and then that's just what I bill them. But if they want me to bid the job overall, then I just bid it that way. So having food in the truck is pretty much a necessity. The next time I go out of town, the truck will be cleaned out, for one. And two, I will shoot a video on what I take, what I cook. You know, like there's very simple things that you can take with you on the road. Take a hot plate, you know, a pot and a pan, some Tupperware, and then some really easy, simple food. So I'll shoot some videos on that the next time I go out of town, which will probably be once in the next couple of weeks before I head back out of town. So let's check the rest of the rig out. This is piled up, as you can see, with all sorts of tools for a little bit of everything. Mounted a cooler rack up there just to get it out of the back seat because I was packed up to the rim. Just so unorganized because, you know, you get to a job, you get out, pack it up, you just kind of throw it back in here. Not the best practice, but sometimes that's all you have time to do, you know. And so, like, I didn't have a chance to clean it out before I went on vacation, so I just tossed everything in here. And so when I clean it out, I'll give a breakdown of the tools that I carry on the truck. But these Milwaukee pack out boxes are probably some of the best things that I've bought as far as organizing stuff. If I can dig them out. They interlock in these little tabs. This one is about $40, and then these little bins will come out if you need to take them out. But you can keep, this one here is mostly for bolts, and then I throw in, you know, like extra stuff left over from other jobs. This other one has just screws in it. Yeah, dude, I mean, just drop cloths for carrying handrails. This is a spray for fixing some handrails I just did. Radio, water. This 110 MIG machine has maybe more money than the big machine on my truck. Box of rods. There's some framing nails. You saw my framing nailer on the other side. My hoods are buried under there. In the crack of this, I keep a couple things that I don't want flying around, like hats, Ziploc bags for on the road. There's a rain jacket shoved down in there. A respirator shoved in here. And then, like I said, laundry basket for doing laundry on the fly. I haven't even folded it, you know, and then just got back off my trip, so there's that. This trucker has a lot of pockets everywhere. That's actually my brother's stuff, and he keeps it tucked in the door for when he's with me. But I mean, there's extra rods down in here, and there's friggin' ratchet straps. I got stuff shoved up under that little hole, and then this little space underneath where the shelf is fantastic. Like I said, cooler rack. There's the acetylene rack. I ended up adding horseshoes onto the Hoosier pole to hang my leads on because I was going to put reels on it. Haven't gotten around to it. Had a new piece of plate to put here to cover up the gooseneck. Haven't gotten to that. There's the old Classic 2. So I added an air compressor to the rig, which has come in clutch on a lot of things running the framing nailer. This umbrella box fits actually more than 2 pipeliners clouds, but that's what I have in there now. I have this big 4-foot square. I have a Matthew Dearman protractor square there, and I've got a 2-foot and a 4-foot level. And then before I had my fuel neck down in this box, and it was too low, and so I kept getting issues where I couldn't fill it with fuel, and it was just clicking off. So I bought this one off Amazon. Works really well. When I redo the bed, I will put it higher. And then my bottle racks. So one of the things that I noticed about this is I ran this cord, or the tube behind the machine, to get over to the acetylene side, and then I ran my torch on that side, and this regulator likes to fall down and hit the gas cap and then the fuel cap. So I should have moved it over here, but again, haven't had time to even weld that shit together. I got T-boned by an F-150 pretty recently, and that broke the welds on this, which, lesson learned on that, I actually welded the top side of it and then ground it flush, and that wasn't really penetrated enough in that crack, so this actually wasn't welded on very well. So I should have welded it from the underside and then cut the top, but I didn't, and then welded the top. So now the fun part. This hinge didn't penetrate, and the hinges broke on me. For those of you that have seen the rig tour video, I had actuators on the truck to open the toolboxes, and for those of you that are questioning, where'd your actuator go? Well, they broke. All 3 on the truck have broken. I have 2 new ones in the truck I'm gonna put on this weekend. It looks like I'm gonna have time, but the Amazon actuators that I used actually broke on me, and this one actually went out the other day, and I had to cut it loose, break it open, and yeah, it's pretty aggravating. I built these boxes to be waterproof. Haven't had time to finish the waterproofing, so the inside is rusty and they're leaking. And so one of the things that I found that I wish I hadn't have done was building this bed so flat, because it made it annoying to make it waterproof with that drip rail. So as much as I wanted it to be super flat, when I redo my bed, it will be a flat bed with boxes on the top. If I were doing it again, I definitely would have left a raised edge and made the box lids pretty typical, where they sat over the top of the edge so there's no water in here, because now you see it's all rusty, shit's everywhere. I put this little brace in here to keep these from sliding around. Fun fact, the Craftsman and the DeWalt ones will snap together, so you can lock them into that little lip. And snap them together, and then they stack together. But I put that there just to hold the random shit. This box has been completely ruined with rain and water, so pretty much everything in there is rusty. The spud wrench is kind of screwed up, so I'm gonna have to rebuy some tools because of that. Mainly just because I didn't have time to make it waterproof, and then it started rusting, and then at that point, you know, it's like, screw it, I'll leave it alone. But again, this is a working rig tour. Shit just gets piled in here, you know, and then you take for granted the time that you do have to fix it. So 4-inch grinder and a 7-inch grinder is what I carry most of the time, just because sometimes it's easier to use the 4-inch, but I don't always need 2 7-inches, so I just carry one of each. Sometimes when I need to do a lot of cutting with a zip disc, I'll run them with the big one, just because the discs last longer, obviously, than the 4-inch, and it's easier to just run one longer 7-inch than having to keep doing 4 inches. Since this actuator has been out, I normally keep the more valuable tools like my drill, impact. That's actually another drill in the truck. But I'm getting ready to put the new actuator on in a couple days, so that's a plus. That'll keep these boxes locked back up. And so this back box also fills up with water, so I drilled some holes in the bottom to let it drain out. And I realized that this hasn't really been an effective way. Obviously in the corner it's not connected, but even just doing this at an angle, it hasn't really done a good job of funneling the water. So water channels didn't work as planned, and this overhanging edge, I don't know if that just has anything to do with it. The water just kind of sticks to the metal. But this back box, there's 4 jacks down there, these extension cord, air cord, some tarps, a welding jacket that smells like musty metal, and then that loud clang gets so annoying. These boxes lids are so heavy. I made the deck out of 3/16, which I realized in hindsight was overkill, because I don't really need them to be that thick, but it has definitely saved me from having really any issues with it bending on the top. But like, you know, on the side where I got T-boned, it didn't ding up the metal too much, so I'm not so sure if it was worth it to go 3/16 on the top for having these heavy box lids, but it makes it seem like it's a little bit harder to get into. These rods have been back here. I normally keep them duct taped up. I just used these the other day, and as you can see, there's a little bit of rust on them. But for the most part, the water doesn't get to this part. So these rods have been pretty safe. They welded pretty fine for me. I keep this Cobalt toolbox. It's $100, totally worth it. If anybody's interested in this one, that fits really well in these boxes. I can put the link in the description, but some wheel chocks for the plants that require it, 300-foot tape, a skill saw, die grinder. I keep my caps for my bottles down there, and then this has been pretty tight too. Like I said, water doesn't seem to come over this edge too much. Obviously it has at some point in time, but this has been pretty safe back here. Then there's an old choker. I really just have it for pulling for getting stuck after I got stuck in Idaho last year on the side of the road. I figured it was a good time to carry an old choker in there. So that one's been taken out of service by the plant, so it was going in the trash and I got to keep it. And then the rest of the rig tour, these 35s have still really good tread on them. This is really not a good gauge. Let's see, I'll stick my camper key in there or something, you know, like you can see it's still pretty solid tread on these, especially to have, I put them on at 130,000 miles. They've got 30,000 on them now, pretty much. These are Maxxis Razor MT 35-1250s. I got 2-inch rough country spacers in between the tools. And then here's one thing I do want to point out. So that is an overload spring if you have a 3500, and so your regular leaf pack is down there, and then your overload spring is at the top. And so that overload spring is for when you get heavy on the truck. And so I've weighed the truck and it's a little over 12,000 pounds. It was like 12,600 with me and 2 other guys in it, so I'd say it's probably right at 12,000 pounds as it sits. And the stock weight, you know, is like 6,500, 6,800, something like that. And so there's a ton of weight on the back of the truck. Welding machine, you know, 1,300 pounds, plus this big steel bed, all the tools piled up in it, whatever's in the truck. It's got a full tank of fuel, and so it rides that overload spring. I do have airbags, but they have a leak in them. So I try to keep some air in the bags to keep it off that overload spring, but you'll notice a lot of times people with welding beds, their trucks will squeak when they pull in and out of places, and a lot of times that's actually what it is. And so I found out that that rubber mount that you saw where it was touching the bump stop is actually part of why it squeaks. So I put some grease on it, and it actually helped out with the squeaking. So fun fact for you guys out there. But overall, I'm super happy with the truck. I get like 16.5 miles per gallon loaded down with everything. I get like 9. Pulling the camper is a 31-foot J flight. My side lights those lights got tore off when I went off the road in Idaho, and I never hooked them back up. That's how long it's been since I've really had time to mess with it. But overall, really solid truck. It's been deleted for about 50,000 miles now. Runs great. Haven't really had any issues other than that one time when I got the water in the fuel. For the one guy that keeps commenting, no, I haven't capped off the end of my boxes yet. Haven't filled that in because I had to cut this off multiple times when I was putting the toolbox doors on, because the freaking hinges that I bought didn't work. These deck hooks have come in absolute clutch for strapping things down. All right, so quick update video. Since I went ahead and cleaned the truck out while I had the time, these are the things that kind of come in and out of the house with me every day. Take my laptop, my iPad, my planner, my little metal contractor's binder, and then a bank bag. And no, the bank bag isn't for carrying all those big faces. It's for carrying my receipts in and out of the truck, because the inside of the truck gets absolutely bombarded with receipts. Keep receipts for everything so I can claim it on my taxes, update it on my profit and loss statement. So we'll be talking about that in the business part. But since the truck's pretty much cleaned out, I figured I'd give you a quick rundown of what it looks like on an average basis. Not so much when I'm really swamped and can't get around. But here's a quick update video. All right, so not completely clean, but cleaned out. Keep my tape measure right here pretty much at all times, and then clean the console out. Got the side piece in there. Back seat a little bit more organized. Took my food tote out, as you noticed, because I'm doing a lot of running around town. I have a smaller tote somewhere. If not, I'm just gonna pick up another one tonight that's lower profile, and then I can put that in it, and then inside of that I keep a small one, which I did this in the past, but I left those containers at home, I think, so I have to look in the camper. But a smaller container to sit here to put like my hat in, my shirt in, a hard hat, gloves, things that I could use, like keep using a lot so they just don't get buried. And then a small one to put my ratchet straps in, just because I use those a ton and then they just kind of get moved around. One of the things that broke on the bed that I forgot to talk about was the metal hinges that I have on the other side, and so I used to keep my straps on the bottom of that thing, and it makes it pretty difficult to keep up with. I'm gonna put these new actuators on, so I'm gonna go ahead and kind of organize this how I normally like to keep it. So pretty much the same. Just keep this Klein bag with, you know, just some go tools in it. And I keep my claw hammer, my 2.5 pound hammer, vice grips, screwdriver, one of each, some wrenches, a razor knife, and then my grinders just stay wrapped up. And then these things are a little bit set up better. This box is pretty much the same other than my extension cords in there. And then this stuff kind of gets rearranged because the actuator sits right here. This probably will end up back in the other box. But these things kind of tighten up. And so what looked like a mess after half an hour of cleanup isn't so bad. So now I'm signing off. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Catch me on the next Daily Access. Gonna go inside and start on editing. Stay dangerous, like, subscribe, comment. See you guys on the next one. Peace.